Hello everyone, Batman Day is on September 20th, and that means on the channel, it's Batman month again. I decided to continue it after starting it last year, and today I wanted to do something different on the channel, to share my favorite Batman movies of the 90s. Now, honorable mentions, of course, will be Batman, the movie from the 60s, and Batman 89. Those were in decades before. The Batman movies really started to rev up both in live action and animation starting in the decade of the 1990s. Starting with my least favorite Batman movie of the 90s would be Batman and Robin. This film killed the franchise for 8 long years. That being said, it does have some redeeming qualities in it. George Clooney wasn't the best Batman, but there are some great moments where he makes an excellent Bruce Wayne, where he's basically Bruce Wayne trying to navigate Dick Grayson's rebellious nature, dealing with the loss of a father figure with Alfred being sick. There's that wonderful scene where he just captured Mr. Freeze, and Alfred tells him, like, what is Batman but a attempt to stop death itself? And then George Clooney's Bruce is just like, but we can't, can we? And he's like, none of us can. That was such a deep scene there, where you really get to feel the loss of a paternal father figure. You also have Alicia Silverstone as Batgirl. Who could forget Arnold as Mr. Freeze? What killed the dinosaur? The Ice Age! Uma Thurman as Poison Ivy. While not the best performance, she is pretty awesome and evil as Pamela Isley. I wish we got to see her more like the animated series or comics. We have a really lousy version of Bane, and a nice nod to Dr. Woodrue, who is the Floronic Man, of course, in the Swamp Thing comics. John Glover is no stranger to DC. Besides being Dr. Sivana's father and Lex's father, he also was the voice of the Riddler in Batman the Animated Series. Joel Schumacher continues what he started with the kind of flamboyant, larger-than-life nature of Gotham City, like he started in Forever, but this one kind of goes more in the campy direction of the TV series. As a matter of fact, it's like a modernization, a 90s modernization of the Adam West Show. And because of that, even though it does have its moments, it's lower on my list, but it does have an amazing soundtrack. Who could forget that track from the Smashing Pumpkins? Next up would be Batman Beyond the movie. This is technically not a movie. This is technically the first 3 parts of the pilot put together as one long movie. And this is actually the way I enjoy watching it. I don't like watching the TV series way where it's like split up. It actually does work as a solid movie, a solid foundation for Terry McGinnis's journey beginning as Batman. We get to see Batman's last mission, Kevin Conroy. He has a heart attack, decides never again, and then we get to see New Gotham decades later, and stuff is not good. Technology has improved, technology has advanced, but crime is still rampant. And we get young Terry McGinnis, a high school student who, by fate, finds his way to Wayne Manor and discovers the Batsuit. Tragedy takes his father, and there's this whole conspiracy with Derek Powers, who is over Wayne Enterprises now. And Bruce must not only get his company back, but shepherd and guide this young Batman who decided to take the mantle to save Gotham after the murder of his father. Wonderful pilot, and this is a great movie to start. Like, if you had the VHSs, this and Return of the Joker would make a good first and second film, really. Next up is Batman Sub-Zero. This film got delayed because of the performance of Batman and Robin, but this is actually a better Mr. Freeze film than Batman and Robin. I love this. If you saw Heart of Ice in the animated series, this continues that. It still has the Fox animation. It's before they went to the New Adventures. We get to see Barbara Gordon as Batgirl. We get to see her relationship with Dick Grayson. Not only that, you get to see Batman dealing with criminals and then ultimately having to find Barbara Gordon. Mr. Freeze, his lair gets attacked in Antarctica, and Nora Freeze, her chamber gets broken. She has a short time to live. They have to have a transplant. There's no deceased donor, so they're going to have to find a live donor, and that's Barbara Gordon. So there's literally a ticking time clock. This is a fast 70-something minutes. I love the story here. I love seeing Victor Freeze's former colleague, him being kind of tempted by greed with the gold and everything, seeing the young relationship he has with the boy. And the boy seeing a different side of Victor Freeze, not only a father figure, but then seeing how he turns bad. And, you know, Mr. Freeze isn't like the Joker. He's not a psychotic. His bad deeds are driven by tragedy and trying to save his wife's life. And it makes him such a sympathetic villain. Such a great ending with the oil rig showdown, and then ultimately Nora being cured and Bruce Wayne helping, and then Mr. Freeze going off into the distance. And for a while it was a happy ending before you find out his fate in New Adventures and Batman Beyond. Even if you've never seen the animated series, it's like reading a comic book. You can pick up anywhere and know what's happening, and this is just a great, underrated Mr. Freeze Batman film. After that is the Batman Superman movie. Again, like Batman Beyond the movie, this is like a compilation of world's finest from Superman the animated series. I like watching it this way in the Batman Superman movie. This is like the ultimate crossover. And as much as I enjoyed BVS and some of the other movies, I wish we got a film that was like truly a world's finest like this with Tim Daly and Kevin Conroy. I love this. Dan Delaney as Lois, Clancy Brown as Lex, Mark Hamill as Joker, Alan Sorkin as Harley Quinn. Man, this is awesome seeing Batman deal with his rogues galleries and Joker's like, you know what, I'm tired of Gotham, I'm going to change playgrounds. So Bruce has to basically go over to Metropolis and follow the Joker. I love the banter between Superman and Batman, how Batman, his identity is figured out by Superman's X-ray vision, and he's just like, you peeked, not nice. And I love it because he throws Superman, and Superman's like, why'd you do that? You know, he's explaining the kryptonite from the Jade Dragon that Joker stole. I love it because you think he threw him for no reason at all. He put a tracking dot and he found out he was Clark Kent. So it shows you that they really are equal despite the strength differences, you know, and the power difference. Such a great film seeing both worlds collide in so many ways and then them work together in this short crossover. And of course, Bruce dating Lois and then Lois figuring out about Batman's identity before figuring out Clark Kent's Superman. It's not only a great episode of the Superman animated series, but like put together the parts, it's a great movie. Underrated Batman Superman team up. Going back to live action would be Batman Returns. This is such a dark and gothic film. This is one of the first Batmans I saw growing up with 89, and yeah, you could tell this one more than 89 is a Tim Burton film. Penguin is disgusting, but Danny DeVito plays him so beautifully and tragically. The standout here is Michelle Pfeiffer, Selena Kyle, Catwoman. Life's a bitch, now so am I. I love that, her and Bruce's relationship, the duality with Batman, Catwoman, Selena, Bruce, you know. Does this mean we have to start fighting? I love that part where it's like, mistletoe can be deadly if you eat it, but a kiss can be even deadlier if you mean it. And then, Selena, we're the same. Split. Right down the center. And then you get Max Schreck, Christopher Walken, who's really kind of like the real villain of this, manipulating everything. And then the part where he pushes Selena is like, I thought you were going to kill me. Huh? And then he just like pushes her down. That was just crazy with the cats. And then her breakdown, but it's such a gothic film with these three characters. And the world, too. You could tell they moved to a smaller studio versus Pinewood, but I love the Danny Elfman score. It's at its best here with elements of Edward Scissorhands and Beetlejuice. A little bit of Scrooged as well. I love Penguin running for mayor, like in the Burgess Meredith episode in Adam West. I love the relationship with Alfred and Bruce. It's like we have to start thinking about security, and he's like, oh yeah, well, who let Vicky Vale in the Batcave? I just love that callback to 89, and then ultimately it's like, I played this stinking city like a heart from hell. The Batmobile sequence was nuts, and the Ice Princess, all the way to the showdown at the end. I mean, that is some gnarly stuff with Penguin spitting out that black gunk, like, wow. And this is Batman at his best, where he has a smaller presence in the other films. The villains kind of outshine him, but he's always a detective. He's always investigating. He never really stops, even when he's Bruce Wayne. And that's one thing I love about the character. And Michael Keaton gives his best performance as Batman in this film. After that would be Batman Forever. This film I have a soft spot for. It was the first Batman film I saw in theaters. And while Two-Face is a bit like a cackling Joker with Tommy Lee Jones, he's not like the psychologically damaged Two-Face that we see in the animated series. It's a bit campy, it's a bit lighter, more flamboyant. I actually enjoy this more than I do Batman Returns. This one's like with 89 for me. And there's a lot of elements from the comics. We get to see Bruce Wayne at Wayne Enterprises, finally as CEO. We get to see Arkham Asylum. We have the introduction of Chris O'Donnell's Dick Grayson, Robin, the whole Flying Grayson stuff. That kind of combines some stuff with Tim Drake's origin and Dick Grayson's origin with the whole Two-Face and then the Haley Circus. Having Dr. Chase Meridian, Nicole Kidman, Jim Carrey makes this film the way Jack Nicholson made Joker as Riddler. Elliot Goldenthal gives a different score. It takes some getting used to, but it's still a triumphant score like Danny Elfman's. Maybe not as iconic, but still is up there. And Val Kilmer, to me, is criminally underrated as Batman. And while it is dated in the 90s, it still is a fun comic book film. And that's one thing I kind of miss. It's had the good balance of being light but not all the way campy, but being dark but not being like absolutely brutal and nihilistic. You know, it was that good balance. And I would love to see what the extended cut, the original preview cut one of this would have looked like with the Nightmare Bat and all the other stuff. How much more darker and psychological it would have been. Because when you look at Joel Schumacher's filmography and then look at these films, you're like, what the hell? How did Batman turn out the way it did when this guy did like Time to Kill, Flatliners, Lost Boys, Fan of the Opera, Phone Booth, like so many dark movies. It's weird how the movies kind of resemble the comics of going to the 30s. Batman Returns, I would say, is a little bit more like the 90s comics, but then Forever is like the 40s, early 50s, Robin's 60s, and then 70s, 80s would be Dark Knight trilogy. So it's weird how they kind of follow in tone the trajectory of the comics. But overall, this is a film that I highly enjoy, and only one soundtrack is forever. Batman Forever. And number one, my favorite Batman film of the 90s, hands down, one of the best Batman films ever made, and the first one to finally get it right, is Mask of the Phantasm. If Batman Begins was the first Batman film to finally get it right in live action, Mask of the Phantasm beat it to the punch in animation. This is the Dark Knight the way he was meant to be seen. We get a tragic backstory, not only with his parents, but first love and the loss of that love with Andrea Beaumont, played by Dana Delaney, who's later Lois in the Superman animated series. And I love how it ties into the mob, her father, and then ultimately Joker. Mark Hamill's wonderful here. This is the animated series at its finest. And it's crazy that it was meant for the finale, and then they released it in theaters. It wasn't supposed to be released in theaters, and that tells you the quality of the show and the writers, what Alan Burnett, Paul Dini, Bruce Timm, and company did on this show. And I love this with the flashback, seeing younger Bruce, how he comes up with the Batman identity. That whole scene where he was going to propose to Andrea and she has to leave with her father with the loan sharks, which is tragic. And then seeing how he left a normal life to become the Dark Knight, and that's what turned him. It's like, whoa. And then how that comes back when she comes back in town and finding out who the Phantasm is. All the crazy twists that fall there. I remember seeing the trailer to this on the Free Willy VHS. But I love Mask of the Phantasm. This film never gets old. No matter what age you are, if you're a kid, an adult, this is just a good story, one of the best Batman stories ever presented on film. If you need a definition or need an example of what is Batman, what do I watch as a new fan wanting to get into Batman, show them Mask of the Phantasm. Seriously, it has everything you need, not only in a movie, but a Batman story. It's one of the definitive versions of the Dark Knight, the Caped Crusader. Batman. Anyway, those are my favorite Batman movies of the 90s. Throughout this month, there's going to be some Batman content. Feel free to check out later. I'm going to have my favorite Batman films of the 2000s, 2010s, but it's also going to include Batman adjacent stuff. So villain films and stuff where Batman may not be in it, but they have Batman characters or it's set in Gotham. I'm going to include those type of films too. So feel free to check those out in the coming weeks. I hope everyone has a great month and even better Batman Day when it gets there. Thank you for watching this video. Feel free to share your favorite Batman movies of the 90s down in the comments below. May everyone be blessed. May everyone stay safe and healthy out there. Till next time.